Support the Amigos podcast on Patreon or PayPal and receive cool perks and rad swag. Visit our page at everythingamiga.com/support.
Amiga, the first personal computer that gives you a creative edge.
Hi everybody, welcome to Amigos. I'm John.
And I'm Aaron.
And today we're going to be talking about Battle Isle.
Ooh.
Now Aaron, what is your experience with Isles in general?
Isles?
Yeah.
Well, there's a spill in aisle 7. Oh, yeah, I got a million of them.
Have you ever been on an island?
I'm trying to think if I ever have. Kings Island.
That is not an island.
Blennerhassett Island.
Yeah, that is an island.
Also, Fort Sumter.
Is that an island?
You ever been to Fort Sumter?
No.
It's on an island that's right outside Charleston, South Carolina.
Okay.
It was the very first battle of the Civil War. Was fought at Fort. At least it was certainly the first sea battle. Was fought at. I visited the first place and the last battle of the Civil War. I've been to both places. Beautiful area. Very historic, obviously. But in terms of big islands, I've never been to Hawaii. I mean, you've been to tons, right?
Yeah, I've been to
Japan.
I've been to Japan.
A big island, right?
My favorite island, one of my favorite islands is Blennerhassett Island.
Mm-hmm.
It's sort of a hidden gem in West Virginia.
Yeah, I agree. I've toured the mansion. I've toured the grounds.
I like riding. You rent a bicycle. You ride around there.
Screw that. I walked it. I licked it. Can't afford to rent no bike.
Yeah, it is expensive. At $5 for half a day.
The boat ride's nice out there.
Yeah, you take a ferry out there.
Yeah, and boy, beautiful picnic areas out there. It's funny though, not to get too controversial, but I'm going to. But we took the tour of the facilities at Blennerhassett Island, and the tour guide was talking about. We went to they have a slave quarters out there. We used to have right. And she was talking about what they did and what happened. She goes, the slaves here on Blennerhassett Island, they were happy, they were cool with it.
Oh, I'm sure they loved it.
I doubt that.
Yeah, poor servitude.
I never forgot about that.
I bet that. How long ago was this?
Oh, it's a long time.
I was going to say, I bet that tour guide has exited stage left since then.
Yeah, I would wager you're correct. But it is. It's. And did you tour the museum there on the other side of the island?
No, I haven't been to the museum.
Yeah, it's real nice.
Now, did you hear about there was an island right outside Montgomery in the middle of is that the Canal River that flows? Yeah, must be. That some couple bought for like $10,000. You could buy a whole island right outside Montgomery.
Really? It must have been super tiny.
It was not very large.
Less than an acre.
And they asked them, what are you going to do with this thing? And they're like, well, we don't really know. And I don't know. Montgomery is not really a place where lots of people are flocking to these days.
That's where Brent went to school.
Yeah,
out there.
And Jamie and Mike.
Oh yeah. Well, Brent lived. That's where Brent did his off hours time in the camper. He lived in that. She lived in a camper up there, down by the river. That's where he lived for a while. I've got to ask him about that on ARG next time. I can tell you brought it up. But yeah, no. And when it comes to battling on islands, I have even less.
You haven't.
Most of my battles occur on the mainland.
What's the closest you've ever come to LARPing?
I have LARPed.
Oh,
I have LARPed.
Do tell.
One time. We were playing. How does you jump from Battle Isle to LARPing?
Well, when I think about battling on an island,
yeah.
I think about myself dressed in a wizard outfit with a bunch of foam lightning bolts.
Man, we're not that snazzy.
That's what I think about.
We were playing a game. It was a role-playing game, and it's still around, I think. It was called Vampire the Masquerade. You ever heard of this?
Oh, yeah.
It was a big deal at the time. And they were real heavy into LARPing, and the people that made it. And so we ran a live action game. It didn't have a name back then. We just called them live action games. There wasn't a shorter term. Mm-hmm. Where my buddy, we took my friend's house over, and we had all of our friends who were like it was a vampire, like a masquerade ball, basically.
Wow.
And we had probably 10, 12 people play.
Mm-hmm. Now, how do you DM a LARP?
He just sort of lingered around, and it was just when he had to. Most of the role playing was just done independently of. It was a little bit too much inside for me, and so. But I will say, everyone loved it, and we all agreed that we should do it over and over, and we never did it again.
It's most of the things that go down like that.
I will say,
like
just for as a side note on that, the Chudster was supposed to be at this thing, but he was too embarrassed to come.
I was going to say he was the most famous of them all. Kamar, the discount assassin, wasn't that his name?
Yeah, Kmart didn't show up for the Princess Ball, but yeah, it was fun. I really say they were including it had combat and everything.
Really?
People tried to screw each other over. Yeah.
How do you combat?
It was all handled. There was dice rolls and whatnot.
So it's like
it's not like you see on TV like Fireball +4. We didn't do that.
So instead, you're talking to somebody, and all of a sudden you're like, "It's on," and then you just start rolling.
Oh no, the DM pretty much took care of the stuff. It was a lot of it was just like the DM's discretion. I should say GM his discretion.
I was going to say at a masquerade ball, you can't really have like a lot of combat.
To be fair, it wasn't a masquerade ball. It was a Vampire the Masquerade. It was the prince of a city was a vampire having a big party, and all the vampires around came over, and some werewolves were there too. Yeah. I know it sounds. You can tell I was awesome, and by the way, I'd like to say this was in high school, but I was well graduated when I did this.
It's unfortunate that no video survives of this particular occasion.
Yeah, I played a Rav nose called Jacob Twist. That was my guy.
Oh man,
yeah, he was awesome. He had a big question mark. I was a big Doctor Who fan, so he had a leather coat.
So he mix it into Doctor Who with the vampire.
He was a gypsy vampire.
It's getting even cooler.
Yeah, he was. I love Jacob. He was awesome. But yeah, we had the whole gang there. It was fun. We had a real good time. I guess he never done that.
I've never LARPed.
Every time I roleplay with you, it's almost like a LARP.
Well, it is.
Because you're out of your mind.
I do enjoy role-playing it. I would not say no if someone invited me to don a wizard helmet and parade through the forest. I'd be in.
No, I don't want to see that.
You don't want to see it?
We didn't have the money for that stuff. Also, vampires don't wear that kind of crap.
That's true. Vampires are very fashionable.
I had on a pair of blue jeans, Doc Martens, and a leather jacket. That's what I had.
You look pretty good, like Riff Raff.
No, I looked like a big fat doofus in a leather jacket and Doc Martens. I just can't pull it off. Maybe I could now, but back then I couldn't.
Riff Raff was who's Meatloaf's character?
Eddie.
Eddie. You looked like Eddie.
Well, yeah, I was trying. I didn't pull it off.
So you had Rocky Horror, Doctor Who, and Vampire all rolled into one.
You can't ever listen. I steal only from the best. And steal early and often.
That's good. That's good. Well, this week's game, Aaron, Battle Isle.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with anything we've been talking about.
No,
it's got nothing to do with LARPing. There are no vampires in this game. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because we got a lot of other things to talk about before we get into it. First thing is, check this out, guys. We have Amigathon postcards are in.
Let me see one of those.
Yeah. And Amigathon magnets. So if you donated to Amigathon for the amounts and sent me your address, you will be getting one of these fine quality products in the mail, one or both, very, very soon. And we want to give a special shout out to friend of the show, Jonas Rulo.
He's in the house. He's in the house.
Jonas, what's going on, man? Yeah, he's. Thank you very much for making these magnets for us. We really appreciate it.
Now, does he live on the Big Island out there?
I don't know which island.
Now, if you're out up near Hawaii, let's say.
Speaking of a battle isle.
You need to contact this man because this stuff is the quality work.
Yeah. I just picture him and Dog the Bounty Hunter just rolling down the street.
I don't like Dog's chances. I think this guy. Oh, yeah, well, I thought you meant fighting. You mean
no, just hanging. They're buds.
Dog the Bounty Hunter.
He's the only other Hawaiian I know.
He's not natively from Hawaii, is he?
I think so.
Is he?
Born and bred.
I don't get that show.
Well, it's not on anymore. That's why.
I never got it. It looked.
Well,
it
did
was
you have
dumb.
cable? Oh,
I've seen it. No, you're missing my point here, Bode. I don't see the appeal of that show.
Well, he's the dog. He's the big bad dog. He's a bounty hunter.
He's not none of that's real.
What?
I'm not buying any of it.
You see, he doesn't use guns. And he goes with the pepper spray. And he kicks down the door.
I've seen episodes where he talked these hardened criminals and they just turn themselves in.
They just start crying?
No, I don't care. No speech from Dog the Bounty Hunter is going to make that happen. I'm not buying it. What was up with Dog's hair?
Man, if I had that hair, you think I wouldn't rock it that way?
No, I don't think you would.
It looks sort of like a poodle.
Yeah. Like, it's no good. I never liked that guy.
Really?
I'm sorry about his wife.
Yeah.
These things happen.
Jonas says his son's office used to be by the police station about 2 minutes where he works. So they are connected. They are connected.
I love that.
Yeah.
See, Hawaii's not a huge city. It's not huge. They're all hanging out.
That's right. They're all hanging out.
I think of MMA when I think of Hawaii because there's some excellent MMA fighters that come out there, including BJ Penn.
I always thought they were from. Where are all the wrestlers from? Samoa? I figured all the MMA guys would come from.
There aren't a ton of guys from Samoa, but there are a couple. But
is that a different skill set?
In Hawaii, now they always have said that in Hawaii, fighting has been around. In fact, the professional level fight's been around forever. I don't mean MMA. I mean it's like going to war. And so you've got some tough, determined, gritty guys that do martial arts out in Hawaii, and they are excellent workers, world champions. So I think of them. I think everybody would like to live out in Hawaii. I mean, I would, just because it's so beautiful out there. The weather's so nice, but I know it's expensive to live out there.
It is. They got to ship everything in too.
Yeah.
Now it's time, Aaron, to talk about what's been going on this week in the world of Amiga news.
Oh, okay.
No, it's site updates next. I'm all kerfluffled.
We don't have to have an exact
That's true.
order.
We'll do Amiga news next.
Go ahead.
All right, Aaron. I've queued up several big stories for us this week.
Okay, great. Okay. And you've been gone, and you still were queuing stuff.
I know. I've been pulling stuff. This is really a check-in with what's been going on in the Amiga community.
Yeah, because there's been a lot of good stuff.
Yeah. First up, we've got a new episode of the 10-minute Amiga Retrocast, starring our buddy, Tenmark.
I haven't even seen. Is this brand new?
This is about a week old.
Oh, okay. So, go ahead.
And this is where he's got an Amiga 2000, and he's basically breaking it down. He's trying to troubleshoot it, figure out what's wrong with it. He's doing all kinds of stuff like that. Man, I love, the thing I like about 10-minute Amiga Retrocast is he assumes no prior knowledge. He breaks things down so I can understand them.
It's funny you should mention this, because he did an epised, and it wasn't this one, I guess it was the last one, where he actually mocked you in the episode.
Really?
And your picture and my picture appear in the episode.
Oh.
With little word balloons.
Well.
And so I fully congratulated him for a job well done, as he trashed you for not liking AGA. It was glorious.
Well, he's entitled to his wrong
I was
opinion.
sure you were going to bring that up. So for you to bring up the next one, I find highly amusing. Yeah, if you want to see Bo come up and
I guess that would be episode 32 then.
I was pleased. I was very pleased. All of his stuff's gold, solid gold.
Up next, Amiga Bill and Guru Anthony.
Yes.
These guys have been on the road at VCF East. They've done two videos, one of which we're going to talk about now. Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. I haven't seen this one.
These guys do the best quality. I mean, the quality, of course, Bill's a cinematographer, so he knows what's going on.
He's an award-winning cinematographer.
This video is all about their J minor Commodore, their Amiga 1000 tribute. So they've done a whole exhibit based on this guy. And of course, this is all the background of the setting up and everything. But Jay had a big effect, obviously, on Amiga Bill when he was growing up. He met him. Then he's actually created a sort of what you might see in a theme park, where there's a little cutout in a giant photo where it looks like you can be meeting J minor as well. So
I think that's I don't know how in God's name I missed this. This looks great.
I see this. I watched this, and I watched their companion video in which they interview Kurt Vendel, I think is his name. He is the man when it comes to Atari 8-bit stuff.
Okay.
And he has a huge exhibit with dedicated to the Atari 400-800, just those two machines. Fascinating stuff. He went over pre-production models and stuff like that. So if you're interested in not only the Amiga, but technically the father of the Amiga, the Atari 800, you should definitely check out both these videos on the Guru Meditations YouTube channel.
I'll also add in that I watched Amiga Bill's live stream the other day, and he played a bunch of new Amiga games, and I was really impressed. There's some excellent stuff that's came out. I'm looking forward to trying it out here on the show.
Cool.
And of course, Bill is always wacky.
Oh, yeah.
So he was up to his usual wacky antics.
Coming up next, so I hit the escape key correctly. Pixel Vixen's been at it. This is the first time that I've ever seen her do this particular thing. This is Disney Animation Studio live on the Amiga. Oh, do you think about the many incarnations of Lame Michelangelo I've done on Amigathon? You think I'm doing animation?
I have tried to use Disney Animation Studio back in the day. You might as well skip ahead there. And it is not for the. I had no luck animating things, but I mean, I always heard it was a pretty good tool.
Yeah, I'm gonna skip over. Of course, this is about a 2-hour-long stream, and you basically watch her create this animated cartoon. It's very, very cool.
And she is an excellent hand.
Absolutely. So if you're into animation on the Amiga and into some cool streaming action, and of course all the chat's archived too, so you tune in and look at what people were saying. But yeah, highly recommend Pixel Vixen's work. Moving on down, This is something, I don't know if this is new or not, but this came across the Discord bow.
Yeah, that's where I saw this.
This is a brand new slim PSU for the Amiga 500, 600, and 1200.
Definitely something that's in need.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, I would say it is maybe about half, maybe 2/3 the size of the original power supply. But what's great about it is that it sits upright, and it's got both cords are on the back, so you don't have to go in one end and out the other. It's really hard to put components on your desk when they're wired up that way.
You know, the sad thing is, Bo, that you literally scooped this guy by 6 or 7 years.
I know.
With your Amiga power supply in a box.
My award-winning shoebox design.
Your shoebox design, which I'm still using that to this day.
Right, I cleverly drilled the holes for the fan with a screwdriver into the cardboard.
Yeah, and it still works. That was and that was our buddies in Poland.
That was
and their wacky power supply adapter. It still works. I use that. I've got a real power supply. I still use the other one.
That's awesome.
I feel like it's safer.
That's awesome.
Now this looks pretty good. It looks almost like a little.
Look how tiny that is.
Oh yeah. I mean, think about it. I've got a few guesses as to what's in that. I haven't seen one like taken apart, but it looks good. He did a good job theming it, I guess. Whatever. I think there's multiple colors, and also the price isn't. It's not brutally gougy.
Right.
It's about $70.
I think $70 is very fair considering the other power supplies I've seen. You know.
Well, if you think about it, even if you rig up your own, like with the Polish, the Polish adapter really costs us about $15, something like that. Then you've got to go out and get an AT power supply as old as the hills.
Yeah, it's massive, it's bulky.
And then you've got to rig it all up. By the time you get all done with that, you're at least in for $40 or $50 on your own. Where you can pay a few more bucks, get a nice shiny new one.
I think this is a win right here.
It's on my list. Let's just put it that way. It's on Aaron's list for goodies in the future.
There's a new Amiga game that just came out this past week, Aaron, Landfill.
Yes, I watched Amiga Bill play this. And because I thought, look at this. This doesn't look all that impressive. And then I watched it play. It's actually pretty clever.
So this is like a matching game where you've got various pieces of trash drifting down from the top. And I guess there's different ways to combo things together. So it's not necessarily you want to match 3 all the time. Sometimes you want to do other things.
Well, like it'll be like you want to put the jelly on the bread. You want to put certain things like I can't remember what all the things are, but then you can make up new combinations like the remote control for the TV with the TV. I watched Bill play this because I'm telling you, when I saw this, I was like, eh. But it's actually clever. And what I really think is funny is that it's got this nice scenery in the background. And as you fail, it gets more and more cluttered with garbage.
That's great. I'm gonna have to give this a shot. Yeah. I love puzzle games.
Yeah, I don't love them, but this looks pretty good. I'll give Bill credit. I hadn't seen it. And I believe he had the author in the chat room when he was playing it. So.
Hopefully, the game selection committee might choose this.
Yeah, I saw a bunch of good stuff that Bill played. It looked really, really interesting.
Up next, there was a new meeting of the Norwegian Amiga user group. NOG3 is actually coming up soon, coming up August 24th at 11 a.m.
What does NOG stand for, Bo?
I'm going to guess Norway Amiga User Group. Just a shot in the dark.
Wow. Okay, well, you really kicked me down the skies there, didn't you, Bo?
So this is, of course, our buddy Figgy is in charge of this bad boy, and you can expect to see, the Amigos faithful roll in.
Oh, Figgy's running the show?
Yeah, man. Yeah.
I did see Figgy post about this, so yeah.
Absolutely. So they've got a Facebook page. You can just search for NOG, and it'll pop right up there. If you are in Norway, you owe it to yourself to go. They're working on computers. They're playing Amiga. They're probably drinking. It's probably a good old time.
I want to be in Norway. I think that'd be an awesome place to visit.
I'd buy the ticket tomorrow.
You ever been there before?
No, I've never been. Never been to any Scandinavian country.
It looks so nice up there, doesn't it?
Great.
All of it looks great, beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we'd be right at home in a lot of those places because it's sort of the same kind of locale.
Absolutely, absolutely.
That looks great. Good for him. Go Figgy, go, man.
And finally, we have one last local meetup. Jason Warnes, the one and only, met up with the rest of the local Amiga users of Calgary, and they were hosting the AmiJam 2019. So over there in Calgary, and Trevor Dickinson, who is the mover and shaker with Aon, the new Amiga technology company, he was up there probably plugging his new systems and stuff. And so I didn't realize Calgary had an Amiga user group, but I'm glad to know that Jason's involved.
I think it's tremendous. I love it. I like these things that are still around or are starting up. It's great. It's great. I love it. Hey, a couple things that were on your list, and since you've been out of town, you may not even heard about them. The A1500 released this week to a lot of people.
Really?
New case. And speaking of Pixel,
the Checkmate finally was
right.
released. Okay.
Speaking of Pixel Vixen,
I could have sworn that we covered that last week.
She did she did at least 2 parts of her assembling this thing.
All right.
And I watched the second part today, a little bit of it today, and it looks interesting. I'm trying to think. I saw another video of someone fiddling with it. I'm trying to think who it was.
Retro Man Cave.
That's who it was.
Yep.
It was Retro Man Cave. Should have known. Our good buddy Neil.
Mm-hmm.
And Neil literally basically unboxed it, said here it is, and then he sort of put out a little question as to what should he put in this thing. You know, like, what am I going to put in this? Well, many options that you have in terms of systems. But I watched, I think, to most of this, and she got the keyboard installed. I didn't get to see the whole thing because I had to get out and go get groceries, but it looks good. I'm going to finish it up. But it's great that these things have shipped. The amount of stuff, I don't know, did you watch Retro Man Cave's look at it? He goes into great detail as to there's a ton of little knickknacks.
Well, not only that, but if you're concerned about not being able to assemble this thing or what to do with it, the instruction manual, it's bound, it's like wire bound, you know.
It's a multi-language.
Yeah, it comes with, I guess, 1 or 2 posters come with it.
Yeah.
So this thing is packaged super, super well. I can't believe I didn't link this up, but I watched this earlier this week, and I had some concerns about, how good this was going to look in the flesh. Sometimes when you see stuff rendered, you're like, but this thing looks just as good in person as it does.
The fella that was doing this whole thing,
Stephen Jones, yeah.
I could tell, and listen, we're not movers and shakers in the Amiga community. We're just a couple schlups. But I could tell by watching this guy's stuff, this was not, much like the fella that runs Amiga Love, it's like there are certain people, it's like these guys are like going to be pros. And I knew right away, I was like, this is going to be a classy unit, and it looks like $1 million. As I watched these videos this week, and everybody getting these things and unpacking, it was just killing me. Mm-hmm. It was killing me that I don't have one of these. So if he does another run, I'm going to sell a kidney or a lung and get on. You
can sell that Kira C64 that's gathering dust and get yourself a real machine.
I use that thing, but that ain't going to pay for this, brother. You can be kidding me.
That's probably
true.
You
need some money.
All right. That's going to do it for this week's Amiga News. The Gamble train is rolling on down the hill. We haven't seen the Gamble train in a while. Why do you think that is?
Because people are stare on in amazed disbelief as to what the heck that is. Even I'm confused occasionally.
You ready to talk about Dreamcatch's work?
I sure am. So
let's do it.
The DK on our personal, humble website, everythingamiga.com. We have an article here called "A Total Eclipse of the Heart," which I sang earlier.
Turn around.
Every now and then I'm getting it. Anyway, so what you've got here, and this is a game from Spain that he talks about, which of course, there you go, it's the Dreamcatcher. But I read this article, and I couldn't help but laugh because this Spanish game is loosely based on the 1985 medieval fantasy film Lady Hawk.
Now, are you familiar with Lady Hawk?
I saw Lady Hawk long ago. It's famous for Matthew Broderick in it. It's got Rutger Hauer, Michelle Pfeiffer. So
now this looks very similar. Doesn't the guy in Crawl also have a hawk?
No.
Maybe I have seen
the glaive.
That's the bad. I'm talking about the bad guy in Crawl, doesn't he?
No, the bad guy in Crawl's a big weird alien demon guy.
Ooh.
Remember, he don't need nothing when you can pull that thing out. But anyway, I guess the people in Spain that made this movie were like, or made the game, they're like, yeah, we'll just sort of heavily borrow this and just change a few things. And lo and behold, they made the game here. The game is cunningly titled Negro. Let me see, what is this? It's Negro something, but it's there's never been an English translation of this bad boy. And Dreamcatcher, of course, goes into deep detail. Of course, being Dreamcatcher, he's got to go into deep detail about Lady Hawk too, including bad mouth and Matthew Broderick, or tons and tons of wacky.
Have you seen Lady Hawk?
Black Sun. I saw it, but I mean, this came out in '85, so I saw it probably like '87.
Okay, where does this fall on the Willow Kroll scale of goodness?
Well, here's the thing. All right, now again, I haven't seen this thing forever. I really need to rewatch it. I would put it above. It's above something like Red Sonja, all right, or but it's nowhere near Crawl. I can tell you that right now. Crawl is sort of like
Is that the pinnacle?
when it comes to fantasy,
You're
space adventures, or it's number one, and I don't think it'll ever be passed. And then you've got your Willows, are in there.
That's sort of your second tier.
You've got your the second Conan movie. The first one was they're both pretty good. I don't know. That's a tough call. I think I'd put Conan above. I like Conan above Willow. I mean, I'm talking the original Conan.
Right.
You've got your. I'm trying to think. There are so many horrible movies. Sword and Sorcery feels like a big deal in that. Oh, you got your Beastmasters. You ever seen any of the Beastmaster movies?
Don't think so.
Now, Beastmaster, tremendous series.
I believe that the Beastmaster, one of them, there's an unclothed woman that is the Beastmaster, isn't? I think I remember seeing a James Rolfe review.
Then you've got that's when they went off the cliff.
They say Beastmaster used to be a respectable franchise.
Because Beastmaster was, I think, as I recall, the origin of Beastmaster, the Queen was pregnant with this kid, and these bad guys came and transferred the baby from her belly into a cow. And then the cow gave birth, and I guess we were going to kill the baby, but somebody came and stopped them, and well, guess what? Now the baby's got eerie beast powers. Like he could see out birds' eyes, and he could summon stuff. He's got a couple weasels that work for him. You can't ever have enough of those.
You can't.
Mark Singer was the Beastmaster, and he's a guy of some renown.
Who's he?
Well, I mean, he's been. I'm trying to think of what the biggest thing would have been in. Nightlife, USA movie about vampires was really good. What?
Boy, he's in a USA movie.
He was in a great movie about. It was like sort of like a blood sport tournament that took place. He played a French soldier, I believe. I think that's what he played. He was in that. That was good.
Was that also a USA exclusive?
No, that was an HBO sort of affair. Listen, Mark Singer did good stuff. I just can't remember the name of it right now. I haven't clipped this thing about 20 times.
Well, you've also dropped the dead cat.
I know.
So.
Well, that's the way it goes. So anyway, it was good stuff. I highly recommend a good read on the old Dreamcatcher. If you're into old crap movies, Dreamcatcher's your man. And who isn't?
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. All right, Aaron, it's time to talk about Battle Isle.
So, what we got here, Boat, is Battle Isle. Now, a few months ago, we played a game called History Line.
We did.
You remember History Line?
Absolutely. Blue Byte software.
Now, let me ask you a question. How did I perform at that particular event?
I don't believe that was your finest hour.
Well, guess what? I have excelled myself and sucked even more at Battle Isle, which in a lot of ways are the same game. So, Battle Isle released in '91 by Blue Byte. Now, I love the Blue Byte.
You do love the Blue Byte.
There's only one reason I like it. It's called Great Courts 2. That's the perennial tennis game on the Amiga. Love it. Love that game.
Undisputed champion.
Love it. And these fellows, they do two things very well: tennis and strategy games, I guess. But let's go with that. So the guys who are at Blue Byte have developed, amongst the things we talked about, Great Courts 2, Pro Tennis Tour 1 and 2, Tom and the Ghost. I'm sure the last time we went over this, I was like, we got to go play Tom and the Ghost.
Right. That sounds like a Halloween episode.
And Twin World. Another one we got.
Twin World.
No. The fellow that coded this was a guy named, I'm going to butcher some names tonight, Bernhard Ears. And guess what other game he coded? Come on, you can do it.
Great Courts 2?
No. History Line.
Oh, I thought maybe he was mixing it up a little bit.
One of the other coders was a fellow named Thomas Hertzler. He did Ophidia, Bad Cats, Great Yana Sisters, Settlers, another one, Skyfighter, Street Cat, Tom and the Ghost, and Twin World. So you've got some guys that had been around the block on the Amiga. One thing of note, as I looked over the credits on this, is the title screen music was written by Chris Hulsbeck.
This guy's all over the place.
He is a money-making machine.
Yeah, he is.
Again, I'm not going to go over his accomplishments, but we'll just say Monkey Island, Great Yana Sisters, R-Type, BC Kid, the Turricans. He's all man and a yard wide. But,
that's right. What?
Yeah, you ever heard that phrase before?
No.
All man and a yard wide. I don't know where I heard that, but that's a phrase. Look it up. So this was also released on the PC, which I looked at, by the way, just because now I've got a PC. I can look at everything. And guess what? They're pretty similar. according to our good friends over at Lemon, the Amiga and PC versions were released about the same time. So there's no telling which. I would usually, 91, it's tough to say. A lot of times, anytime later, the VGA version sort of got melted down for the Amiga, but it's hard to say on this one. This game also had some data discs, Boat. It had Battle Isle 93 and a couple scenario discs, Land, Sea, and Air, and the Moon of Chromos, which it might be interesting. Now, before we get into the meat of this game, let's talk about this wacky opening.
Okay.
What'd you think about this wacky opening?
Man, this is definitely one of my favorite openings.
It is?
Of all. I mean, like, it's very well done, don't you think?
Well, let me explain why it was wacky to me. Okay, so I played this. The version I had a crack. It was from Skid Row. And one thing I like with these cracks, by the way, it says, basically, at the beginning of it, it tells everyone to F off. It literally in so many words. So then you start the game, and the intro runs. I was like, okay, it runs this intro. The intro is the guy getting in a ship, flying through space, all this stuff. I mean, I'm not sure I'd call it animated. I guess it sort of was.
It's as animated as any of them are.
No, it was like still frames. It was like the Marvel animation from the '60s.
No, it's better than that.
Movement.
It's better than that. You're not giving it enough credit.
There's this, and what about what I like is what's weird. So there's a guy flying through space. He does this thing, and then meanwhile, it shows a guy get out of his car, walk into his house, and boot up a game.
Right.
I'm like, what's going on here?
Right.
And so can you explain this to me?
Yeah. So what this is like a game within a game type thing, and so this is all real. Okay. This guy is flying through space. Meanwhile, there's the old guy at the Senate, the Galactic Senate. You always gotta have
old guy.
Yep, at the Galactic Senate. And they're like, we really need somebody to come in and play this game. We really need a new pilot. That's what he's saying. And so meanwhile, this guy, your doofus from the street, pops in Battle Isle. What they're setting up is a Last Starfighter situation.
I was getting ready to say. That's what I wanted. I didn't want us to be the first to say it. But now, do you remember when Last Starfighter came out?
Oh, that was well before this game.
It?
I mean, it was in the 80s.
So this was sort of a horkage.
In fact, Last Starfighter might have been 79.
No,
it was really old.
Not that old.
Might have been 69.
No, would you stop talking? So anyway, the opening was goofy, but here's what made it especially goofy for me. So I sat through the whole opening. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. So I clicked the button.
Right.
And then more stuff from Skid Row pops up. I'm like... So I thought to myself, wait a minute, was that the game, or was that some crap Skid Row put together?
Oh yeah,
so I had to go. Yeah. I watched. It's the first time this has ever happened. I went to YouTube and watched a walkthrough of the opening. so I could determine where the crack screen ended.
That's great.
And where the rest of the game began. So the game eventually does come up, and I will say, true to his rep, the opening song, and this is awesome. There's crap going down. I was like, wait a minute, this is good stuff here.
Yeah.
And I will say the incidental music throughout the game, it's not that good.
No.
But it's okay.
It's okay.
Now part of it could be because I just played 2 games on ARG that the music was literally. I told Brent it was like me and you and him doing the Amigos challenge at the Amigathon. I mean, this music was low end, brother. So this music this is like Beethoven compared to that. Okay. So Battle Isle. What is this in a nutshell? Well, what this is a single player or multiplayer turn-based tactics game. All right. You have a split screen here, and you can play 1 or 2 players, and you basically fight. There's no peacemaking.
Right.
There's no negotiating. There's no diplomacy. It's war.
It's fighting.
All-out war. Now, Bo, tell them of the starting this game. And we didn't talk about this. It just happened. So go ahead and tell them what it was.
So when you first start this game, you're greeted with your basic start screen where you've got password, options, blah blah blah. Okay, I think there's an option you can watch the intro again. You go to start the game. And you quickly realize that you're playing a 2-player game.
Yeah.
And so you go into the options menu, and you can see where it says player, human, player, human. And you're like, cool, I'll just go down to the second player, and I'll hit the button, I'll change the computer. Well, guess what happens? You can't. You're unable to change that human player to computer player. So instead, what you have to do, this game is, I guess it was developed, this game has so many issues.
Well, before you continue, let me just say this. I think I know what's going on with this. Okay, I thought about this.
Okay.
So basically what Bo's saying is by default, it's on 2 players and you can't put it on 1.
Right.
My guess is, now I played this, I don't know, did you play this on Amiga Forever? Or how'd you play it?
No, WHD.
Okay. I played this
Forever.
I played this on Amiga Forever, and I also played it on the WHD load on the Amiga. My guess is that the last saved campaign was a 2-player campaign, so that's why it comes up as that. I'm not sure the actual game, because I watched several walkthroughs and it didn't come up that way. So I think we just got unlucky.
On Amiga Forever, you're playing the ADF. You're not playing the WHD, right?
Right, but I mean, it could have saved the last campaign and whoever uploaded it. It's just because no one's going to upload a game like this. So I think this was just bad luck. I think. Now I don't want to grill them for something, because I don't think anyone's that stupid. I think it just loaded up the last campaign that was loaded, the last scenario, I should say, and it happened to be because there are some that are exclusively 2 players. So I think that's what it was. So what we ended up having to do was type in the password for a single player scenario.
Yeah, I disagree with your assessment. I think they really are that stupid.
Listen, I'm not strongly behind it.
This game sets you up in such a way to make you think you're about to play the baddest game that's ever existed. You've got a guy flying through space, and then it shows you, the player, bebopping home, popping in the disc in your Amiga, and you're like, wow, it's me, I'm getting ready to play, it's gonna be cool. And then you're immediately greeted, because it's not like he comes home with a buddy. He's coming home by himself.
That's true.
And you can't jump into the game. And I mean,
yeah.
Maybe you're right, but maybe you're wrong.
I'm not gonna dock points for something that could be a weird thing.
That's true.
Right.
Now, what is Battle Isle? Have you?
It's got a storyline.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and hit me with the story.
I looked it up here, because I was the same, and that really the opening didn't really spell it out for me. So the story is, you fight on a fictional planet called Chromos, which that explains the expansion.
Right, Moons of Chromos. And
on Chromos, they're a little ahead of us technologically. Okay. And so they've got computer, like supercomputer brains, right? They've got some space flight, and they've got advanced robots, okay? And they've got basically technology that's advanced, and you're fighting. That's pretty much all I garnered out of the gameplay. The game throws you right in. Now I could be wrong, but I didn't find any tutorial mode or anything like that. I watched your private playthrough.
Yeah, there's a reason why that's private on the YouTube.
You want to talk about that?
Well, it's mostly.
Did you stream that live?
No.
Okay.
I wanted to. In fact, you hear me like clicking around trying to figure, but I actually made the stream private accidentally. So, but it's probably for the best, because I was hoping somebody could jump in and help me. But this game is sort of. Even after I played Battle Isle, I still found parts of this game hard to grasp right off the bat. This game is a hex-based strategy game that's for 2 players, and it's at the core of it. It's basically Battle Isle, or if you've ever played Advance Wars or any other turn-based tactical combat game, where you move your units, the computer moves their units. If you're in combat range and you initiate combat, you fire bullets at each other. Then it becomes a rock, paper, scissors type thing, where if your units are stronger than the other units, your opponent will lose more units. There are different types of units. There are ground units, there are air units, there are water units. And it's the name of the game is total domination. You want to destroy the other players' armaments and take over their base.
Yeah, I will say the little cutscene is cool when you get hold of a base. You know what I'm talking about? Where the guy, you just see it inside this metal door.
Oh,
and
yeah.
There's just like, you see like a cutting laser go sort of door. This guy pops in. It's like, it's like, oh, what a stud.
I never actually managed to do that, though.
I was telling Bo, I complained about this game all week, and the reason I did, it's not because this is nothing against the game, but as is widely known, these type of games I'm not good at, and I have trouble holding my interest in this. However, I did give this a college try, and I did manage to at least give it a go. How about that? The interface is interesting because it almost reminds me of like a board game, like a German strategy.
It's absolutely like an Avalon Hill game.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean.
Yeah.
And so because it's grid based, you've got all your units, and so you could easily picture this on a map. And so I tried to look at it in that vein, and so if you look at it that way, this is better than the board game because it gives you a lot of advantages. When you click on your a unit, you can move the joystick around to get different options. You can get information about the unit. You can do its movement, its attack. And so when you pick a movement of a unit, it gives you a colored grid of every place you can move the unit.
Right, which is definitely an advantage over a board game where you have to look that up.
Oh, yeah. There's a bunch of advantages. Like Boat said, there are multiple units. There are multiple ground-based units, multiple areas. And so you're moving this around. And the name of this game, as far as I can tell, again, I'm no expert. And sadly, I've played this game for probably 2 weeks now. The name of the game in this is Violent Aggression. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as I can tell, and I did read some information to corroborate my thoughts, the computer runs a full frontal all-out assault every time. Mm-hmm. The problem is, now, from what I've read, most people that are good at these games, they just sort of weather the storm and just go and stomp the computer's brains out, okay? I got mercilessly murdered over and over by the computer. He doesn't screw around. He comes in. And when you're on the option screen, you can set the number of turns this goes. I think it's anywhere from 4 to like 32.
I think there's an infinite number of turns.
Is there?
Yeah.
And so you can sort of make, and whoever has the most units wins. So if a full victory is not achieved, it's whoever's ahead. Okay. I tried all the different ones. I thought maybe I could sneak something through, but the problem is that if you go to a lower turn, the computer, like I said, full frontal all-out assault. And since I didn't know exactly what I was doing, he would always just cream me. And so I never won a game in this, not once. But I will say the interface it's okay. I would have preferred. I mean, if you play 2 people, you've got a guy on the keyboard, or you can actually use the mouse too, and you've got a guy with the joystick. I would have preferred mouse control all the time because it's the Amiga. I think I'd like that better with the second mouse being a way to.
Well, there's a lot to be said for joystick control because it turns the game into a lean back type experience. You can kick back in your easy chair and you can go to town and you can make something happen.
Except the fact you got to use keyboard commands for stuff. There's keyboard stuff you can do.
Well, you don't have to though.
You don't have to.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. You can do the whole game by sorry, that's YouTube's experiencing some uploading or some streaming issues. So if you heard that sound, but anyway, I like the fact that it's you can operate everything with the joystick if you want to. What I don't like is they don't give you any option to do keyboard control.
I would like control options.
Yeah,
yes, that's true. Something else. I mean, there are a lot of things I never did, like repairing your units, stuff like that. I mean, you could do them. I just wasn't skilled enough to know what the heck was going on. I mean, I tried, but I mean, it was something that was a little bit beyond me. Now, you're a lot better at these.
Well, I've played a lot of these types of strategy games on the consoles where, I was playing it with a controller, obviously, in much the same way that you play with the joystick. I would prefer, instead of having... Again, we talk about this often because these games were being localized into so many different languages. They did everything they could to not have to retranslate stuff. So you're limited to having to understand what this series of symbols means. What I would prefer is to select a unit with the button, a drop-down menu come up and just say move, attack, recharge, whatever.
That may be one of the reasons that I have so much trouble with these, because that is a perennial issue. Settlers was like that.
Yeah,
they put a bunch, and it's for dummy here.
And
Populous is sort of like that too.
For those people that grew up playing these types of games, it's not as much of an issue. But if you start out sort of more in the future, it's really, really hard to go back.
Like me. Now, the funny thing about this, I mean, I guess before we get to this, did you like, this was a lot like History Line, and I believe you thought History Line was okay, as I recall, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, this is just like, this is the same game almost as History Line.
You've got two, basically, to boil it down, you play simultaneously. One guy does a movement phase, and the other guy does like an action phase, and then you swap back and forth, and then once everything's been resolved,
here's the difference.
All right.
you and the computer are moving at the same time.
Right.
While you're doing your action phase, the computer is doing their combat phase and vice versa. That is incredibly confusing to me, and I was never able to wrap my head around it. I like doing your movement, doing your combat, and then turning it over to the computer.
What I did was just ignore the other person for the most part,
Right.
with great results. But you've got your phases, and I will say when combat's resolved, it's pretty funny, and it's not in a good way funny. I mean, it's you basically, like, for example, if there's a tank fight, you've got, and these are units of tanks, not just individual tanks.
Right,
You've got like the 3rd division of this, the 4th division, but they're symbolized by just one. Each one has a tank.
Right.
And it'll show these tanks all get together, and then they just show bullets go, like all the bullets go at once.
Yeah.
And they crisscross, and it's what the tank on the furthest side from the right will shoot the one at the left, and it's a big baloney.
They are not shooting for realism in this type of environment, and I mean that's fine. Like, none of these games you're going to have, but I mean these bullets are fired at what I like to call combat speed.
Is that
the Atari 2600 combat speed?
I'm not a graphics fiend or anything. Is that the best they can come up with? And planes are the same way. Planes,
Right.
You couldn't do. You got a cutscene for the guy cutting through the door. Can't we get something that just shows some tanks fight, and then at the bottom it says, "Here's what happened."
Right.
Just showing tanks sort of disappear is lame.
And again, this is something that I think, not only the console strategy games like Advance Wars did better down the road, but all games got better at this. This is still pretty early days, 91, for this type of game. So I'm willing to cut the game some slack. This game was doing things that I'm sure strategy, like you said, people that were used to playing board games and having to do all the charts and things, I'm sure they ate this up, especially if they were doing it in a group setting.
Now, I will say, this isn't super duper complex. Like, so if you're me, once you wrap your head around the interface, I could sort of get by, you know what I mean? I like the fact that if you had 2 people, or even when you're by yourself, it's neat that everything happens at once. So there's no waiting around, unless you can finish your face and just sit there while the other guy finishes his. But I mean, you're not waiting for a long time,
right?
That's pretty cool.
I mean, that is the advantage. I can see why they did it the way they did it, but it was hard for me to plan my moves accordingly because I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that the computer was moving while I was also moving.
I'm glad you said that because I just felt like an idiot, and I was like, man, it's very tough to kind of figure this out.
Yeah.
So that explains that. Now, the funny thing about this game, Boatster, is that this was Blue Byte's first big hit, and it was real popular in Europe. And I would never have known this, but you probably did. There were a bunch of sequels. They were on the Amiga, but they had Battle Isle 2, Battle Isle 3. It had a bunch of these things, and they were releasing these things. Like, they released them into like the 2000s.
Wow.
I couldn't believe that crap, man. And so they get this. This is something else I thought was wacky. So after Battle Isle 2 got released, Blue Byte decided to release a Windows version on CD. This was one of the very first games for Windows. It was for 3.11/Windows 95 and NT.
Huh. Interesting.
How about that? So I thought that was, that's something to hang your hat on. So according to Wiki, they sold 600,000 copies of this game, and the who knows how many of the expansions were sold. So they had a real good run. And now here's something else. This is crazy. So they got out early on the Windows front. All right. So here's something else, and I bet you probably even heard of this. In July of '97, there was a Battle Isle franchise announced by Blue Byte for the Panasonic M2. You know what that is?
No.
The M2
was that the successor to the 3DO?
Yes.
Okay.
And this thing got a ton of press.
Okay.
When it came out, because people were like, "Wow, this," and it never ended up fizzling. It never got released. So, but they were working on, and I heard there was a prototype that people were making games for, and Blue Byte was one of them. They were actually making games, and so that was kind of neat. So they did pretty well with this game overall. Blue Byte, I believe, ended up becoming part of another company. I'm trying to think of who it was that ended up sucking them up. It was I can't remember, Domark or somebody did it. And so, but yeah, they were around for a good while. So.
But really, once they started making the Battle Isle games, that was all that they stuck with, right? I mean, there weren't any great courts that came out later on just for the PC,
I'm
right?
not going to read all these. No. Oh God, no. I mean, I don't know if great courts, but there were nothing I know of. So I'm looking down this list. I mean, there's probably 15 games in the Battle Isle series. I mean, it's unbelievable how many these were. There was one released in 2000, and there was one release that was planned on being released in 2013, but it got canceled. So, an extremely popular series. It's not with me. It's not with me. Any parting shots on this one?
I think that this game, like all of this type of game, is if you've got a buddy that's into strategy games, you're going to have a great time.
Yeah.
I think if you play the single player version, you're going to be let down. I think that there's probably more distance between the content of the introduction and the actual game of any game I've ever seen. I mean, watching that introduction, you'd think that this is like a flight sim, like a space, like a what's that game that's real famous? Wing Commander.
Oh, yeah.
Like a Wing Commander type game. And this is nothing like that.
I looked over, admittedly, it was the manual that was up on Lemon, but I didn't even see anything that mentioned any sort of backstory at all.
I think they mentioned. I think that they gave you that sort of thing on it. But what was funny was I had to watch on YouTube. My version, the intro was completely cut out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, on the WHD that I played, I tried several times to get it to load, and so I ended up having to watch it on YouTube.
This is what happens when you're a dirty, rotten, stinking, filthy pirate.
That's
right
true.
Here. So what
That's
happens.
true.
I looked up some reviews on this thing, Boatster. Amiga Action gave it a 87%, pretty high marks.
Yeah.
Amiga Format a 90. Amiga Power 78, CU Amiga 85, and the 188. So you're getting those are B level, performance on that. That's how. Again, I don't want people that love this game, and I know there's plenty of them that do. I don't want you to think, man, they're killing this game. I freely admit that the couple weeks I spent with this game was not enough time to get good at it. What I'll admit is I got good enough to stagger around and see how things work. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure if you were a real whiz at these sorts of games, this might be a lot more fun. It's not one I would go back to, but I would just say it's not my type of game.
Yeah.
I looked this up on eBay. There were none available now, but I've seen these things. They've sold recently for under $10 boxed.
Wow.
So there you go.
Pick them up for a song. We did get one Discord user review. Graham W. Vebke says, this Blue Byte hexagonal-based strategy game was inspired from Nectris on the PC Engine. This game is great when you understand the mechanics, but I do understand that the single-player mode is not quite as enjoyable as two-player mode. I myself prefer the World War setting of History Line over the science fiction setting of this game, but it's still enjoyable. This game went on to spawn more Battle Isle games in the series as well as some expansions. So if turn-based strategy is your thing, you'll get many hours of enjoyment here. 8 out of 10. This is another thing that I think is not in this game's favor. The History Line series, you had tanks and the soldiers. They looked like they were of the period.
Yeah.
This game doesn't lean far enough into sci-fi territory. These tanks look a little bit too much like normal tanks. I want to see space tanks.
The
looking
graphics
awesome.
on this weren't hideous.
No,
they weren't.
no.
They were not stylized.
But you wouldn't know that this was a sci-fi game if you didn't watch the intro. It would just be like, this is Earth at some indeterminate point in the future.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
In fact, I wouldn't even call it a sci-fi game. It's just sort of a futurist.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that far off.
Yeah, absolutely. We did get a question this week from a listener.
Okay.
This question comes in from I can't remember who this actually comes in from.
You don't want an anonymous guy asking you a question.
Well, it's funny because I copy and pasted his name, but Discord turned it into a random string of numbers.
Just pronounce it exactly the way it's written.
407-18668-4669-5367
You probably just gave this guy's like MasterCard.
That's his social security number and his credit cards all in one. He says, I have a question for the podcast. Should you be stuck for things to talk about? I think this is either Duncan Styles or Pac Billy. Okay. One of the two.
They may be the same guy.
True. As somebody who was new to the Amiga when the podcast started, I wondered what your thoughts are now. So this is for me, not for you, obviously. We know that a lot of the games have underwhelmed you, but what about the system overall now that you've had a chance to use it for productivity, etc.? Does Amiga OS impress? Would you have liked to have one back in the day? Well, I will give you a caveat of this answer because I still have not used a real Amiga for any extensive amount of time. And that is one of the things that makes this system so hard for me to get into. Because we started out with, I had the 500 here.
Yeah.
And in the early days of the show, we were using, well, it didn't work, so that was a strike against it. Then when we got it working, we were using a scan doubler to make things happen.
Tell them what happened to that.
And that blew up.
How did it blow up?
I think I killed it.
Yes.
And then we started using a cockamamie scheme where I got that GBS 8200 board, and you wired up the SCART to RGB cable. So we were going SCART to RGB. That was glorious. Then into this arcade board, then out into a flat panel monitor.
That was a glorious disaster.
Yeah. And so
that's when you blew it up.
This is what I like. I like being able to sit down in front of a computer, flip a switch, and go. The Amiga is just not that easy under its current configuration. The 500 is just not that easy.
That's true.
I'm looking forward to if we get, if Jason is able to work his magic and somehow fix the House 600 that Gary Hucker sent us, the PAL 600.
It go right on this monitor.
I would love to really spend some time with the OS, poking around, get a hard disk image. Look around, see I'd do a video on the word processor just to see what it looked like, I'm eager to dig into it. It's got to be something that's more plug and play than our original.
This for the man who's got a ZX Spectrum wired up over here.
The ZX Spectrum works with the push of a button.
Here's the situation. I'm just gonna jump in for a minute.
Okay.
Bode has been snake bitten. And anyone here that's in the States or in Canada can understand. The fact that we don't have SCART is a major pain in the butt when it comes to dealing with these European systems. For you guys, a simple SCART cable, wham bam, Bob's your uncle. Over here, and especially with the 500 and the god awful video out box, which was just the dirt worst. It makes it more difficult if you have a 500 to get a proper signal out to a television without the box.
Right, and we didn't have a monitor for the 500.
That's right, and so we've had and it really did leave a bad taste in your mouth, I know, because we had so much trouble. And then once you did finally get it working, then Bode had to play everything off discs because the 500 doesn't have an IDE interface, and we didn't have any money at the time, especially we didn't have any money to put any gizmos in it to make it work. I've been fortunate that I've got a 1200. Now I've got we've been gifted 600 and some other stuff. We've been very lucky, and a big thank you to everyone that's helped us out.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sitting pretty, and I do have an Amiga 600. And by the way, I've offered to. In fact, I thought Bo was just going to take it. In fact, I think you did have the 600 briefly.
I had it for a while, and then I realized what we're talking about. It's like I've got the 600, it's working, but it's not PAL, and so I'm not going to be.
And that's the other problem is that when you especially when you're trying to do some sort of production, it's a real difficult issue when you try to get everything to work out right. I promised Bode after the last Amigathon that by next year I would have an Amiga that could play everything and that we could output consistently to video.
Right.
And so that's my plan. But I think if you had a if you had a system like that, you would be less likely to have trouble. It's just, and anyone that is in the States knows this computer wasn't made for us. I mean, effectively, all the software is European, and it's. I mean, I still have trouble with it to this day. Even in emulation, it's a hassle sometimes, and so it's a thing you have to deal with. The Amiga, just by its nature, emulating it is a hassle too. To be honest, I mean it works, but when you're trying to stream with stuff like WinUAE or
it doesn't play well with the software.
It doesn't work well with the stream stuff. I mean you can do it, but it's not easier, to do. Really, stuff like the company or what's the other emulator you use?
FSUAE.
Those are a little more tolerant of streaming,
but it's still not great.
So I guess to answer for Bode, I think he would have I think he would be more fond of the system if he had not had so many bad experiences with actually getting one up to use on his own, because he loves the Spectrum, and it was the Spectrum once he got this new monitor, which we didn't have back in the day.
Yeah, right.
If we'd now we've been laughing.
We've got a PAL monitor, so I can play it on a CRT. It's the right aspect ratio. Everything's ready. Conditions are perfect.
Yeah, and
it's Tuesday night. Conditions are perfect.
If Jason can have any luck with the 600, or I've got some stuff working on mine which I haven't told you about. But hopefully we'll have something that you could play consistently on with a hard drive and everything.
Right.
You don't have to worry.
Right.
But my problem is I've got a 600 that works, But no, I can't get any memory expansions to work on the expansion slot. So they're old.
Yeah.
Enough said.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Duncan and/or Pack Billy, for writing in. We appreciate it, and you can always send us a question either on Discord or you can just send me an email at john@amigospodcast.com.
You know, I use some of that applications like word processor stuff back in the day. They work great.
Yeah.
When you come out of DOS, this was way better. Now, Boat comes from a Mac background. It may not be as impressive
Well, that's
for you.
I'm really looking forward to seeing how the Amiga handles things like font scaling and stuff that the Apple really shined at, and maybe the Amiga does too. I'm looking forward to doing some comparisons, and maybe I'll break out the Mac Plus and we'll do some side-by-side stuff too. So
Neat. Good idea, Boat.
yeah. Aaron, it's been a while. Since I
Go ahead.
since I discussed Patreon and all its benefits. If you like the show and you listen to us every week, you can support the show easily with just $1 a month. You get all kinds of benefits. You get access to our Discord server. Where we talk all the time. You get access to really cool, like when Aaron runs across random bundles of Amiga software, all that stuff gets first dibs to the Discord.
Let's
Discord
face
folks.
facts. The Discord people are all more cool and interesting than I am.
Oh yeah.
That much said, you have access to all them as well, not just
Right.
me and you.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, it's such a great community. I know that we're planning a big get-together for Amiga Ireland this year. The Norway Amiga group is well represented on the Discord, so it's a great way to meet people and really get to know them. You know, these days with social media, there's all kinds of groups. You know, there's all kinds of Amiga groups. There's all kinds of Amiga forums, but they don't foster the same sense of community as forums did back in the day. And this is sort of bringing it back because it is a limited group of people, and it is chat in real time. So it feels different and it feels better.
I don't think I've ever seen anyone fight about anything ever.
No.
Everyone is super duper friendly.
They are.
And I'm not just saying that. I mean, I'm serious.
They're very, very nice folks.
I'm the most unfriendly one because I'll fight occasionally. I just start fights. But.
Yeah. So anyway, and of course, if you want to go beyond and give us $1 an episode at $4 a month, you get your name in the Patreon supporter song and on the official Amigos supporters shirt. So
this fall.
Well, no, there's one right now.
But I mean the new one.
And the new one is coming in 2020 because I do a different one every year.
That's sort of like the fall.
Yeah.
The fall of the year.
What you can do is you can get on board now, get the 2019 shirt and get the 2020 shirt.
What we should do is the 2019 ones, if anyone adds in, we should just get one of those gold pins.
That's true. Just write it in there. There's also awesome swag you can get if you are a Amigos supporter for more than 4 months, which means by December, which means you got to get on board in August. You get a official Amigos supporters magnet for the year.
Those are great.
Yeah.
Also from Jonas. They're awesome.
And of course, the ultimate honor is to be a member of the Amigos Game Selection Committee and actually help choose the games that we play every week. That's run by our commissioner, Pixels at Dawn. Every week there is a discussion and vote on what game we should play that week. So,
we need you.
Yeah.
Come in.
Yeah.
They would love to have some fresh voices, I'm sure.
We need some as many perspectives as we can. There, you might have a favorite game that we've never heard of, and we'd love to dig into.
And eventually, it will probably get picked.
Yeah.
So I mean, if there's a game you're like, man, why don't these jerks cover,
blah blah blah,
Mr. Nuts or whatever, which you'll probably get it on. If it's something you're dying to hear, there you go.
Yeah. And of course, you also get the official Amigos Game Selection Committee magnet in December, sort of a Christmas present for all your efforts. But the real stars of the show. The real best thing about this thing is getting mentioned in the supporter song.
Oh, man.
Last week's supporter song was Bohemian Rhapsody by Queen.
Did you ever hear his version of that?
Did Elton John really do it?
He at the Freddie Mercury tribute show.
Oh, him and Axl. I forgot about that.
That was an abomination. That whole show was hideous. Except for basically, there were 3 things about that show that were tolerable.
Didn't Bowie recite the Lord's Prayer?
David Bowie and Annie Lennox did it Under Pressure.
Mm-hmm. Which Bowie was featured on the real song.
And George
so.
Michael came out and blew everyone away with Somebody to Love. I mean, and this guy was that.
Well, he's got pipes. George Michael.
He did. Of course. But this and that's a sad thing.
Yeah.
And of course, Bowie's got to. George, and I was never a huge George when I liked him. This guy was the man. He had a set of pipes. You're not kidding, buddy. And I've got a couple of his albums actually. I mean, and he started off that Wham stuff that's real.
It's kind of poppy.
It's beneath him.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy should have been a much bigger deal in the States. We knew him. I don't know how big he was in
huge.
I'm assuming.
Huge.
But
yeah.
I mean, this guy was, and he came out on stage and went to work. But otherwise, that show was just absolute dreck. It was horrible. I watched it live. Carry on.
So we have some winners here. We've got Edvin Helland, and welcome home, Edvin. Edvin just returned from his mandatory Norwegian 5-week vacation.
I wonder how that was compared to your trip to Delaware.
Oh, well, it's. I saw all I can say is Edwin was like, "Yeah, I'm here camping. I'm getting ready to go over to the lodge where there's beer. There was no beer or lodge in Delaware.
Beer and for like relaxation, banned in Delaware.
Yeah, absolutely. Pixels at Dawn got this one right. Gary Heather, Jason Warrens, and Pack Billy. Pack Billy wrote in with a little trivia. 2 weeks ago I did that Sixpence None the Richer song.
Yeah.
And he said,
Is that Kiss Me? Is that what you did?
Yeah, Kiss Me.
Yeah.
He says, I actually have a connection to Sixpence None the Richer founder and author of Kiss Me, Matt Slocum.
Yeah.
He plays cello for the Nashville-based post-rock band whose manager I do a lot of work for.
Wait a minute, a dude wrote Kiss Me?
Yeah.
That really changes the tone of that song.
Oh, you got to change your whole daydream situation there.
Shot that, yeah. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, and he's not done. We were talking about Woody Allen last episode.
Yeah.
He said, I also have something of connection to Woody Allen. I know his ex-sister-in-law, Prudence, Mia's sister and the subject of the Beatles' Dear Prudence. She was very nearly my landlord.
Wow.
I actually drove down last summer to feed their cats while they were visiting relatives out west.
Who is this?
This is Pack Billy.
Man, this guy.
He's done it all. He's done it all.
Unbelievable. By the way, you were right. I have not seen Manhattan.
Yeah.
How did I miss that?
I don't know. It's a good one. I like it.
I'm on it.
All right. This week, I'm going to do a little something different with the supporter song.
It's going to be melodic, well thought out, and beautiful.
Well, it's up to you because you're going to whisper in my ear what you think I should sing for the Patreon song.
Oh, man, I'm going to ruin
live and on camera.
I don't know.
You got to think of something fast.
No, I've got one, but I don't know
Okay.
if you can sing.
All right,
If you know
hit
it.
me.
Let me take my mic off.
Oh, yeah. Let me take my mic off, too.
What if I wrote it on? Oh, no, I just do this. Screw that.
Yeah, write it on your phone.
Okay.
That's,
all right.
that's better.
Play some intermission music. I don't think you've done this. I hope not. My God. Okay, stop with the music. Ignore all this. Ignore this lunch order.
I'm going to sing Hot Ham and Cheese.
Okay. This is a lunch.
Oh,
Okay.
you're already giving it away.
And then the song will be, and I'm not going to write it all.
I've already done that.
Okay. I got another one.
I don't know that one.
Okay, I got another one.
Okay.
Let me think of another one here. You're killing me here. Okay, I'm gonna switch base. Ignore that one.
Okay.
Let's go to this, and we're gonna go. Have you done that?
All right, got it.
Bam. I'm giving you a softball here, Boat.
You are. Here we go.
I know this one.
Decker 3, Port Gary Heather, Free Lunch Kate Fox, David Pickford, Cameron Armstrong, Andy Jones, Lobsterminator, Craig McClellan, 10-Minute Amiga, Retrocast, Counting Virtual Sheep, Bernard Quinn, Retro Man Cave, Tim Drew, Simon Rose, Joseph Harrison, Kyle Letter, Rob O'Hara, Howard Nibbs, Matthew Larimore, Andy Craig Shanzo, Darren Lomax, Colin 419, Barkbit, Roland Burke, Andrew Monks, Joe the Zombie, John Cookdan, Ross Leaf Killan, Alan Kebab, Checote, Ray Levelord, John Marshall, Matthew Perron, Ricky DeRocha, Creepy Dead Boy Figgy Dizzy, The Slow Norris, Stafford Sorgord Martinson, Ed Van Hell and Blinda 75, Christopher Hassel, Ravi Abbott, Chris Foles Dreamcatcher, Laurent Giroux, Graham Bibke, Lane Denson, Adam Battersby, O'Brien's Retro Vintage, Gary Hucker, C. Brian Jones, Paul Harrington, Doug Styles, Tapes from the Crypt, Josh Nan, Adam Bradley, Jonas Rolla, THT, Eric Nelson, Kim Tommy Humberstead, Daniel Bingston, Brutal Barracuda, Darren Coles, Jason Warrens, Pixels at Dawn, and Kjolbjorn Barman.
Everyone's gonna get that one.
Yeah, I hope so. It was so good.
I should have picked something much more diabolical.
Well, guess what?
Yeah.
Starting with next week,
Yeah.
you're going to be choosing the songs.
You're getting awful brave, Mister. I'm going to do this on the fly without any forethought.
That's how we do it. That's the best way to do it.
That sounds great. I'll go pick the crap out of some songs.
All right. So, Aaron, next week we are going to play Dogfight 1 versus 1 and Jump and Roll. That's right. It's PD week here on the Amigos Everything Amiga podcast.
Public Domania 7.
Right.
Bigger, better, better. Now we played Dogfight.
We played Dogfight on the last Amigathon.
We gave both these a whirl.
And I think we did Jump and Roll 2 years ago on the
Oh
Amigathon.
boy.
Yeah.
The Amigathon exposes us to some of this new stuff.
That's right.
That's not that new, is it? Sounds good to me.
All right, guys. Thanks as always for watching and or listening. We'll be back next week with a new episode. Until then, adios.